Gwen!
My billionaire husband threw me out while I was pregnant, penniless, and standing in the rain with no shoes on. Then he told his driver, "Leave her there. She has nothing without me." Those were the last words I heard from Daniel Blackwood before the storm swallowed the road behind his car. For 7 years, he believed I was dead. For 7 years, he lived like the woman he abandoned had disappeared from the earth. For 7 years, he built his empire bigger, married into another powerful family, appeared on magazine covers, and told anyone who asked that his first wife had tragically passed away during a difficult time. A difficult time. That was what he called the night he pushed me out of his life with one small bag, a swollen belly, and a heart too broken to even understand betrayal properly. But I did not die. Not that night. Not in the storm. Not in the cold. Not in the hospital room where strangers found me unconscious near an old roadside chapel. Not in the years that followed, when I had to learn how to feed a baby without a husband, without family, without money, and without the name that once opened every door. I lived, quietly at first, then fiercely, and 7 years later, Daniel saw me again. Not in a hospital, not on a street corner, not begging outside one of his glass towers. He saw me standing on the main stage of the Grand Meridian Charity Gala, wearing a white silk gown, holding my daughter's hand, while the governor announced that the new Blackwood Women's Medical Wing had been fully funded by the woman the city knew as Elena Vale. He was sitting in the front row with his second wife when he heard my name. Not Elena Blackwood, not the dead first wife. Elena Vale, founder of Vale Hope Foundation, owner of 3 women's shelters, major investor in the hospital expansion his company had been trying to control for 2 years. The hall was full of wealthy people, bankers, developers, politicians, doctors, journalists, women in diamonds, men in tuxedos, waiters carrying champagne, cameras flashing, and Daniel Blackwood, the man who once looked down at me in the rain and decided I was worth nothing, stood up so fast his chair nearly fell backward. His face went white, his mouth opened, but no words came. Beside him, his wife Victoria frowned. "Daniel?" she whispered. He did not answer her. His eyes were fixed on me. On my face, on the small scar near my eyebrow, on the child standing beside me, my daughter, our daughter, Amara, 7 years old, curly hair, bright eyes, a face so much like his mother's old photographs that Daniel's shock turned into something close to fear. The governor smiled into the microphone, unaware that the air in the room had changed. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "please welcome Ms. Elena Vale, whose extraordinary donation has made this hospital wing possible." The applause rose, slowly at first, then loud. People stood. Doctors clapped. Nurses wiped tears. Women from my shelters cheered from the side tables. My daughter squeezed my hand. "Mommy," she whispered, "why is that man staring at us?" I looked at Daniel, the man who threw me out pregnant and penniless. The man who believed I was still lying somewhere beneath the storm he drove away from. The man who never searched hard enough to find out whether I survived. I leaned down and whispered back to my daughter, because some people only recognize treasure after they throw it away. Then I walked to the microphone. Daniel took one step forward. His wife grabbed his arm. He shook her off without even looking at her. "Elena," he whispered. The microphone caught it. Not loudly, but enough. Enough for the front row to hear. Enough for cameras to turn. Enough for Victoria's face to sharpen with confusion. I stood at the podium and looked directly at him. Not with tears, not with fear, not with the desperate love I once wasted on a man who mistook my softness for weakness. I looked at him the way survivors look at locked doors after finding the key. Then I smiled. "Good evening," I said. My voice filled the hall. For many years, people believed my story ended on a rainy night. But some women do not end where they are abandoned. Some women begin there, Before I continue, tell me where you are watching from tonight, and if you have ever been thrown away by someone who thought you could never survive without them, stay with this story, because sometimes the person they bury in the past comes back alive, stronger, and holding the future they never deserved. My name is Elena Vale. Before that, I was Elena Blackwood. And before that, I was just Elena Morris, a girl from a poor neighborhood with a mother who cleaned hotel rooms and a father I never met. I did not grow up with money. I grew up with keys. Keys to hotel rooms my mother cleaned. Keys to storage closets. Keys to laundry rooms. Keys to back doors where workers entered while rich guests walked through marble lobbies. My mother, Grace Morris, used to take me with her when babysitters became too expensive. I would sit on folded towels in the service room, doing homework, while she pushed carts down long hallways, changing sheets for people who sometimes left more mess than gratitude. She taught me early that work was not shameful. Shame, she said, belongs to people who look down on the hands that make their beds. My mother was tired most of my childhood, but never bitter. She believed dignity was something you carried, even when your shoes were worn. She believed education could open doors, but character decided whether you deserved the room. I studied hard because I wanted to lift her out of that hotel. I wanted her to have a room where she was not cleaning after strangers. I wanted her to sit by a window in the morning and drink tea without checking the clock. But life does not always wait for daughters to succeed before taking mothers away. She died when I was 20, a sudden illness. A hospital bill we could not pay in full. A funeral I funded with borrowed money and a scholarship refund. After she died, I became quiet. Not peaceful. Quiet. There is a difference. I worked at a small boutique hotel during the day and took business administration classes at night. I learned hospitality, bookkeeping, customer management, procurement, and the strange mathematics of rich people's comfort. That was where I met Daniel Blackwood. He walked into the hotel lobby during a storm, wearing a dark coat and carrying himself like weather was something other people experienced. He was 31 then, already wealthy, already powerful, heir to Blackwood Capital, a family investment empire built on real estate, shipping, hotels, and private hospitals. I did not know all that at first. I only knew he looked lost for a rich man. His driver had taken the wrong route. His phone battery had died. The hotel's main system was down because of the storm, and the receptionist panicked because his reservation could not be found. I stepped in, not because I knew who he was, because I knew how to solve problems without making guests feel like the floor had opened. I found him a room, sent dry towels, called his office, arranged a meal from the closed kitchen. When he came back downstairs later, he said, "You move like someone who has run this place for years." "I have watched people run it badly for years," I said. He laughed. That laugh changed my life. At first, Daniel was kind. That is important. Cruel men do not always begin cruel. Sometimes they begin attentive, patient, curious. They ask questions. They remember answers. They make you feel seen in places where you have spent your life being background. Daniel returned to the hotel the next week, then the week after. He asked about my studies, my mother, my dreams. He said I had a mind for operations. He said I understood people. He said wealth did not impress me, and that impressed him. I should have heard the warning there. He did not love that I was unimpressed by wealth because he wanted a humble partner. He loved it because it made me feel rare beside his world. When he asked me to dinner, I said no twice. The third time, I said yes. I wore a black dress from a discount shop and shoes that hurt my feet. He took me to a restaurant where the waiter placed a napkin on my lap, like I might not know what to do with cloth. Daniel noticed. After dinner, he said, "You were uncomfortable." I was learning. He smiled. "You don't need to learn their world. You can make them learn you." That sentence felt like love. Maybe it was, for a while. He introduced me to rooms I had only cleaned near. Galleries, charity events, private dinners, boardroom receptions. At first, people stared. A hotel girl on Daniel Blackwood's arm. No family name. No old money. No polish except the kind hard work gives you. Some called me refreshing. Some called me lucky. Some called me dangerous behind soft smiles. Daniel defended me then. "She is smarter than most people in this room," he told one investor who asked what I did before Daniel. I loved him for that. We married after 18 months. Small ceremony. Large reception. His mother, Margaret Blackwood, wore silver and cried politely, though I later learned she told her friends the marriage was a youthful rebellion with legal consequences. Daniel said he did not care. "My life," he told me on our wedding night, "begins with you." I believed him. For the first 2 years, our marriage felt like a dream, with expensive furniture. We lived in a glass house overlooking the city. I completed my degree. Daniel encouraged me to help restructure some of his hotel charity programs. I noticed waste, suggested changes, built a small women's housing initiative with unused Blackwood properties. For the first time, I felt my mother's life had prepared me for something larger. I knew what women needed when they had nowhere to go. Clean rooms, safety, food, legal help, childcare, a person at the desk who did not look at them like failure. The pilot program worked. Women stayed, found jobs, moved out stronger. I wanted to expand it. Daniel praised me publicly. Privately, his mother hated it. "Blackwood properties are not shelters," Margaret said one evening at dinner. "They are empty buildings," I replied. "They are assets. So are women." She stared at me like I had spoken in mud. Daniel laughed then, proud of me. Later, he stopped laughing. The change began after his father died. Daniel inherited full control of Blackwood Capital, and with it, the pressure of men who believed compassion was a leak in profit. Board members began whispering that the Women's Housing Initiative was bad optics for luxury branding. His mother said I was turning the family name into charity. Then Victoria Langley entered the circle. She came from old money. Perfect posture, perfect accent, perfect family connections. Her father owned a private hospital chain Daniel wanted to merge with Blackwood Medical. She sat on boards, hosted fundraisers, and knew how to insult people without wrinkling her face. At first, she was just a strategic ally, then a close advisor, then a constant presence. She called Daniel at night, sent him articles, traveled with him to meetings, spoke of me as if I were a sweet mistake Daniel had made before understanding his level. One afternoon, I overheard her in our garden. "Elena is lovely," she said, "but she carries struggle into every room. Men like you need wives who make power look natural." Daniel did not defend me. That silence was the first crack I could not ignore. When I confronted him, he said, "Victoria understands the pressures I am under. I understand them too." He sighed. "Elena, you feel them. You don't understand them." That sentence told me how far he had moved. Soon, my housing initiative lost funding, then office access, then staff. Daniel said it was temporary. His mother said pregnancy would give me something more appropriate to focus on. Yes, I was pregnant then. 4 months when I found out Victoria had been staying in the Blackwood private villa with Daniel during a business trip. 5 months when I confronted him. 6 months when he stopped sharing a bedroom. 7 months when his mother told me I should leave quietly before I embarrassed myself further. "You trapped him with a baby," she said. I was too shocked to answer. I had loved Daniel with my whole heart. I had built programs in his name. I had carried his child with hope. And now I was a trap. The night he threw me out, rain was hammering the windows. Daniel came home late. Victoria's perfume came in before he did. I was waiting in the living room with a folder of documents about the shelter closures. He did not even take off his coat. "Elena," he said, "I want a separation." I placed one hand on my stomach. "Now?" "Yes." "Daniel, I am 7 months pregnant." His face tightened. "That does not change what this marriage has become." "What has it become?" He looked around the room, as if the answer were in the walls. A mismatch. A mismatch. Not betrayal. Not cowardice. Not pressure. A mismatch. I asked, "Is this because of Victoria?" He closed his eyes. "This is because you refuse to grow." I laughed, softly, bitterly. "I grew from hotel service rooms into your boardrooms. I grew your charity program into something that saved women. I am growing your child inside me. What kind of growth did I miss?" His face hardened. "The kind that knows when to stop fighting." Margaret entered then. His mother, already dressed like she had been waiting. She held a small bag. My bag. Not even packed well. "Elena," she said, "the driver will take you somewhere safe." I stared at Daniel. "You told your mother?" "She is helping manage this." Manage. I was not his wife anymore. I was a situation. I refused to go. I said we would speak with lawyers. I said the child mattered. I said he could not erase me. That was when his mask fell. "You came into this family with nothing," he said. "Do not forget that." The word struck harder than a hand could have. Nothing. My mother's sacrifices. My education. My work. My ideas. My love. Nothing. He told the driver to take me to a serviced apartment on the edge of the city. But halfway there, the storm worsened. The road flooded near the old Chapel Road. I panicked, asked the driver to turn around, begged him to call Daniel. The driver called. Daniel answered on speaker. "She's refusing the apartment," the driver said. Daniel's voice came through cold. "Leave her there. She has nothing without me." The driver hesitated, then stopped. He was not cruel, that man, just afraid of a rich employer. He placed my bag beside me under the chapel awning, said sorry without meeting my eyes, and drove away. The rain fell harder. My phone died. My stomach tightened with pain. I walked toward the chapel lights, slipped near the roadside, and everything went dark. When I woke, I was in a small clinic. A nurse named Ruth sat beside me. "You and the baby are lucky," she said. Lucky. I wanted to scream, but I had no strength. The clinic had registered me under my maiden name from the ID in my bag, Elena Morris, not Blackwood. The storm had knocked out communications. Roads were closed. I stayed there for days. Then news came that a landslide had blocked the old Chapel Road, and several unidentified victims had been reported missing. Somehow, Daniel's people decided I was one of them. Or maybe they chose to believe it because searching would require guilt. A Blackwood representative came once, spoke to clinic administrators elsewhere, never found me, and left. By the time I understood what had happened, something inside me had changed. If Daniel Blackwood wanted me dead in his story, I would let that version die. I left the city before he could find me. Ruth connected me with a women's shelter 2 towns away. There, I gave birth to my daughter. Amara Grace Morris. Grace, after my mother. The first time I held her, I cried because she was alive, and I was alive, and that had to be enough before it became more. The first years were hard, not inspiring hard. Ugly hard, milk money hard. Sleep on one side so the baby has space hard. Work cleaning offices with a baby monitor in your pocket hard. Smile at strangers while your heart is still burning hard. I worked under my maiden name. I refused Blackwood money because asking would expose me before I had strength. Maybe people will say that was pride. Maybe it was. But pride was all I had left that no one had taken. Ruth helped me find work at a small community clinic. I organized patient files, managed appointments, wrote grant applications, because the clinic director could not spell urgency properly on paper. One grant succeeded, then another. Then a donor noticed. Then a foundation asked me to consult. I knew women's shelters. I knew hospital neglect. I knew what it meant to be pregnant, abandoned, and treated like paperwork. Pain became my qualification. I built Vale Hope Foundation with the help of Dr. Miriam Vale, an elderly widow who funded the clinic and later adopted me emotionally, like mothers sometimes do when grief recognizes grief. She had no children. I had no family. We chose each other. When she passed, she left me enough money to expand the work. Not billionaire money, seed money. I grew it. grants, investments, partnerships, shelters, clinics, legal aid centers, transitional housing, maternal care programs. By the time Amara turned 7, Vale Hope Foundation had become powerful enough that hospitals returned my calls quickly and politicians learned my name. Blackwood Medical was trying to take over the Grand Meridian Hospital expansion. They wanted naming rights, influence, control. I wanted the women's wing protected from profit games, so I funded it first. Quietly, legally, completely. That brought us to the gala, to the stage, to Daniel's face when he realized the dead woman was alive. After my speech began, the room listened closely. I did not tell the full story. Not yet. A gala is not a courtroom, but truth can enter a room without undressing all its wounds. I spoke about women abandoned during pregnancy, women without money, women without safe transportation, women whose pain is dismissed because they lack powerful surnames, women who are told they have nothing. I looked at Daniel then. His face broke. Just a little. Tonight, I said, this hospital wing is dedicated to every woman who was left in the rain and still found a way to carry life forward. Applause rose again. Victoria was staring at Daniel now. She knew enough to know she did not know enough. After the speech, Daniel pushed through the crowd. Elena! I turned. Amara stood beside me, holding a small bouquet from the nurses. Daniel looked at her, then at me. His voice shook. You're alive. Yes. His eyes filled. I thought, no, I said. You left. He flinched. Victoria arrived behind him. Daniel, who is this? I looked at her. Elena Vale. Her eyes narrowed. The foundation donor. Yes, Daniel whispered. She was my wife. Victoria's face changed. Was a dangerous word when the woman is standing alive. I looked at Daniel. Do not speak of me in past tense. He swallowed. Amara tugged my hand. Mommy? Daniel stared at her. What is her name? I lifted my chin. Amara. His lips parted. Is she? Our daughter, I said. The child I carried the night you threw me out. Victoria stepped back. People nearby had gone quiet. Daniel reached slightly toward Amara. I moved in front of her. No. His hand dropped. Elena, please. I didn't know. You did not know because knowing would have required looking. I searched. Your people searched badly enough to keep your conscience comfortable. His face crumpled. I thought you died. After you ordered your driver to leave me in a storm. Victoria's voice was sharp now. Daniel? He closed his eyes. So she did not know. Of course she did not. Men like Daniel do not tell new wives the full cost of becoming available. I looked at her. You may want to ask him why he built a charity campaign in memory of the pregnant wife he abandoned. Her mouth opened. No sound came. Daniel whispered, Elena, can we speak privately? I smiled sadly. You had privacy when you chose cruelty. Truth can have witnesses. He looked at Amara again. Tears now. She is mine. No, I said. She is herself. And she is mine to protect until you earn the right to be known safely. That sentence seemed to age him. Within days, the story broke. Not from me. Too many people had heard enough at the gala. Headlines came. Blackwood's dead first wife alive. Billionaire accused of abandoning pregnant wife. Vale Foundation founder reveals hidden past. Daniel tried to contact me through lawyers. Good. That was the only language I accepted now. We arranged a meeting with legal counsel, child specialists, and mediators. Not romance. Not reunion. Responsibility. Daniel arrived looking like a man who had not slept. No, Victoria. Only his lawyer. He said, I want to know my daughter. I said, you will start by telling the truth under oath. He did. About the night. About the driver. About the separation. About the failure to search properly. About allowing public statements that implied I had died tragically while hiding the ugly parts. His lawyer looked miserable. Mine looked satisfied. Then came the financial settlement. I did not need his money anymore. But Amara had rights. So I accepted support into a protected trust for her education, health, and future, not a penny into my personal accounts. Daniel asked to apologize to me directly. I allowed it in the presence of counsel. He looked at me across the table. For what specifically? I asked. He knew that question was coming. For throwing you out while you were pregnant, for letting my mother treat you like you were beneath us, for choosing Victoria's world over our marriage, for saying you had nothing without me, for not finding you, for turning your disappearance into a story that protected me. My throat tightened. Late truth still has weight. I hear you, I said. He cried then. I did not comfort him. His tears belonged to him. Mine had raised a child. Over time, Daniel met Amara. Slowly, supervised, carefully. She was curious, but not desperate. I had raised her full of love, not lack. That was my victory. One afternoon after a visit, she asked, "Was he bad to you?" I answered carefully. "He made terrible choices that hurt me." "Do you hate him?" I thought about it. "No." "Why?" "Because hate is heavy, and I carried you instead." She hugged me. That was enough. Victoria divorced Daniel within a year. Not because she became my friend. She did not. But because powerful women also dislike discovering they were invited into a lie. Daniel stepped down from several public roles. Blackwood Medical lost the hospital expansion influence. Vale Hope Foundation kept control of the women's wing. The wing opened 18 months after the gala. There was no red carpet vanity. No Blackwood name on the wall. The sign read, "The Grace and Amara Women's Wing. For my mother. For my daughter." For every woman who survived the night, someone tried to end her story. At the opening, Daniel came. Quietly. He stood at the back. He did not speak. He did not try to stand beside me. That was the most respectful thing he had done in years. After the ceremony, he said, "You built something beautiful." I looked at the nurses guiding women through the new reception area. "No," I said. "We built something necessary." He nodded. Amara ran past him with Ruth, the nurse who had saved us, laughing because she was helping hand out flowers. Daniel watched her with tears in his eyes. This time, I did not feel the need to punish him. Consequences had already done their work. My life did not become perfect. That is not how survival works. Some nights, I still remembered the rain. Some smells brought back the clinic. Some rich rooms still made my shoulders tighten. But I was free. Free in my own name. Free with my daughter. Free with work that turned pain into shelter. Free from the lie that Daniel Blackwood was the source of my worth. He threw me out pregnant and penniless. Unaware I was still alive. But the real shock was not that I survived. Women survive quietly every day. The real shock was that I stopped letting survival be the smallest part of the story. I lived. Then I built. Then I returned. Not to beg. Not to expose for sport. Not to ask why he did it. People ask why, as if the answer can repair the wound. It rarely does. He did it because he was weak. Because he was proud. Because his mother's approval mattered more than his wife's pain. Because Victoria's world looked shinier. Because men with too much power can mistake abandonment for decision-making. Because he believed I had nothing. And that was his greatest mistake. I had my mother's dignity. I had my daughter's heartbeat. I had strangers kind enough to become family. I had work. I had memory. I had the stubborn breath of a woman who refused to vanish because a man's story required it. If you are listening from your own storm, your own roadside, your own empty account, your own pregnancy, your own betrayal, hear me clearly. Being thrown away is not proof you are worthless. It is proof someone failed to recognize what they were holding. Do not measure your future by the person who abandoned you. Do not let their cruelty become the title of your whole life. Rest if you must. Cry if you must. Start small if you must. But stay alive in every way you can. Your name can return to rooms that once erased you. Your child can grow without the shame someone tried to hand you. Your work can become bigger than your wound. And one day, the person who said you had nothing may stand in front of everything you built and finally understand that nothing was never your portion. It was only their vision. My name is Elena Vale. I was thrown out pregnant. I was left penniless. I was presumed dead. But I was still alive. And that made all the difference.